Welcome into Duval Daily, presented by GinJag.com. I'm Jordan DeLuga. Thanks so much for tuning in here on Wednesday, October 30th. This is a show, I've talked about the Jaguars needing to move on from their current leadership, coaching-wise, front office-wise. I've talked about it for a while. Probably been a couple months now. There's so many reasons it's true, but it's time for the Jaguars organization, for Shad Khan to make the decision to turn the page on this regime. And I'm not going to get too much into like the relationships between Doug Pederson and Press Taylor, Trent Baalke, Ryan Nielsen, but I will just say this. This is not a group that is in sync. It's not a group that has the same vision. It's not a group that's standing up for each other. There's a divide within the leadership at the top for the Jacksonville Jaguars, bottom line, and there has been for a while. I think you can generally point the direction at the general manager. We've seen this time and time again with Trent Baalke. We absolutely have. So there's a lot of reasons why I think it's time to turn the page, and I think do it now. Get this process rolling. No reason not to at this point, in my opinion. For one, this is a results-based business. The NFL is. And the Jacksonville Jaguars have lost 6 of their last 8 games in 2024. Dating back to 2023, they have lost 11 of 14. They are 3-11 in their last 14 games. In year 3, they are 2-6. Again, not going to talk too much about those relationships beyond what I just said, beyond like the leadership relationship standpoint. We're going to take a look at just kind of facts of where these guys are at. We'll start with Trent Baalke. We'll talk about Doug Pederson. We'll talk about Ryan Nielsen. All that. So looking at Trent Baalke. And look, I've given him credit when he deserves credit. And there's been some good things he's done as a personnel guy. There is. Absolutely. But let's look at some of the questionable things. How about drafting Walker Little in the second round in 2021 and not giving him an opportunity to start until 2024? And don't tell me that's the coach's fault, because Cam Robinson, he was signed by Trent Baalke after the 2021 season, heading into 2022. Gave him a big, big deal, right? What are you doing there? As a good team builder, you should not be drafting at positions that you're about to pay. That's not team building, right? That makes 0 sense. You just drafted this guy high in the second round. You should feel good about him. You should give him a shot following the 2021 season. Guess what? When he got his shot in 2022, he played pretty darn good, Walker Little. So what were you doing at tackle? Made no sense. And all this time, you could have been sitting here with a young tackle tandem on rookie contracts. That money could have been allocated elsewhere. Okay? What are you doing at cornerback this year? Yeah, you signed Tyson Campbell. Kudos. Easy decision, in my opinion. Your only other option for someone that has played football in the NFL at a high level is Ronald Darby, who is past his prime, oft injured, really over the last several years has been viewed by the league as more of a CB3 or rotational guy than a true starter. And y'all can go back and look. I mean, I said I like Ronald Darby. I also said I wouldn't have moved on from Darius Williams. I also said I would bring in someone else to make at least push Ronald Darby. And in my opinion, I would have brought in someone to start to make Ronald Darby that CB3. What were you doing at edge? You had Travis Gibson in the building. You said, no, we can just trade him away because we have, Eric Armstead at edge? No. Eric Armstead is a 3-tech. And yeah, we're going to talk about that too with Ryan Nielsen. But what are you doing at edge? Yeah, you got Trayvon and Josh. You need other guys that can rush the passer. Behind them at edge is basically a bunch of guys that should barely be in the league. Bottom line. How about linebacker? This might be his most egregious bit of roster management. In fact, I think it is. Okay, so you pay Foye Oluokun to come here. I'm happy that he did that. I mean, Foye Oluokun has been a model of consistency, of reliability, of leadership, good football player, good athlete, right? Good leader. So happy that he's been here. But then you go trade up for Devin Lloyd, which again, in a vacuum, if those are the two moves you make and you say, we're going to have Foye Oluokun and we're going to have Devin Lloyd, those are going to be our two core guys at linebacker. Okay, I can get on board with it. Is it a lot to do at the linebacker position? Yeah, it is. But it's like, okay, those are our guys. That's what we're doing here at linebacker, right? Wrong. In the very same draft that you essentially, so in the trade up, they gave up a 4th round pick and their 2nd round pick to get back up into the 1st round to get Devin Lloyd. You also use a 3rd round pick on linebacker. And then how about not a year later, a 4th round pick on linebacker? Okay, so let's see here. Premium contract to the linebacker position, a 2nd round pick, a 3rd round pick, and a 4th round pick in the same draft to the linebacker position. And then another 4th round pick to the linebacker position. And then it's not like we're talking about, 3-4 outside linebackers. We are talking about base off-ball linebackers. You have given a premium contract, a 2nd round pick, a 3rd round pick, a 4th round pick, and another 4th round pick. That's insane. And guess what? The only one that's played consistent football at all is Foye Oluokun. I mean, Ventrell's playing pretty good, but he can't cover. So, yeah. What are you doing? How about what are you doing signing Roy Robertson Harris to an extension? That was insane in my opinion. Once again, absolutely unnecessary. Why'd you add Devin Duvernay when you have Parker Washington? Why? I don't understand that at all. Don't get it. Why didn't you sign Josh Hines Allen before having to place the franchise tag on him? Okay. That was ridiculous. That was a farce of a offseason. And then, he's lucky he whiffed on. He wanted to sign Calvin Ridley. They did their best to do that. Titans made an offer he couldn't refuse. He's lucky he whiffed on Calvin Ridley and then had to pivot his draft strategy. People forget they wanted to sign Calvin Ridley and bring in Terrion Arnold in the draft. That's what they wanted. He's lucky. He's lucky that he got Brian Thomas Jr. instead of bringing back Calvin Ridley. Now, could the Jaguars use Terrion Arnold? Certainly, but the process consistently baffles me with Trent Baalke. And it would have been really funny looking at it if you had Gabe Davis out there missing opportunities, Calvin Ridley out there missing opportunities. Then you could have been really sitting here like, what the hell is going on this offense? You already are, obviously, but yeah. So Trent Baalke, not a good general manager, not a guy that really kind of gets along with folks in the building. We've seen that in Jacksonville. We've seen that in San Francisco. So we'll get to Doug. We'll get to Ryan Nielsen. But first, I got to remind you all, check out Underdog Fantasy for Pick'em. The Jaguars season might be in the tank, but the NFL season still going strong. And you can use code Duval Daily over on Underdog Fantasy, their mobile app or their website, underdogfantasy.com. Duval Daily and Underdog will give you a free pick to use on your first cash pick'em entry, plus up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you deposit. It's currently Boosttober on Underdog, where there's a promo to play nearly every day. Tons of options for Jaguars, Eagles, adding more by the day. Maybe you like Trevor Lawrence. Maybe you don't. in this one. Eagles got a pretty nasty defense. Vic Fangio. Maybe you want to pick a running back like Tank Bigsby or Saquon Barkley. Underdog has vulture protection to rescue your pick'em of a running back. So that's Underdog Fantasy promo code Duval Daily to claim your new customer special of a free pick and your deposit offer. Must be 18 plus, 19 plus Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Void in Colorado. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. Arizona 1-800-NEXT-STEP. That's 1-800-639-8783 or text NEXT STEP to 53342. New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-8778-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. Shout out to Underdog Fantasy. Getting to Doug here. I mean, why do we have to talk about so many questionable decisions with fourth down? And then you get to the actual fourth down calls, and a lot of them are baffling, right? But we've talked a lot about the fourth downs where, like, against the Patriots, that was a horrible decision to go for it on fourth down when you could have gone up 3 scores. Against the Texans, it was a horrible decision from a strategic standpoint. It was horrible decision making. And then you see the calls, and they're awful. Just quarterback sneak it when it's fourth and short. Give it to Trevor. Put it in his hands. Let him do some work, right? And I'm not talking about a quarterback draw from the gun at the 1 yard line. I'm talking about quarterback sneak. Everybody up at the line. Let Trevor use his length, athleticism, and instincts to go get you that first down or that touchdown that you need. How about why can't you move on for Press Taylor when even the owner essentially publicly says he has an opinion on the matter? He wants Doug to make the decision on his own. Well, Doug, you made the wrong decision. Press Taylor is going to help sink your ship. And this isn't against Press Taylor per se. This is just like the entire thought process of like, and like the owner wants you to call plays. The guy who writes your paychecks wants you to call plays, and you're unwilling to do it. Unbelievable. You know, why did your offense stink out loud for 3 weeks during the beginning of the season? They came out well against Miami. Played very well against Miami. Obviously, in my opinion, his decision to take the game out of Trevor Lawrence's hands in the fourth quarter is what cost them, along with Ryan Nielsen's defense cratering at the end. But against Cleveland, against Buffalo, and against Houston, the offensive operation was horrible. How about the fact that Mason Smith inactive? And this is kind of goes back to the relationships part of it. Mason Smith, who Trent Baalke wanted in the second round, cannot be active on game days. That's crazy. That is absolutely mind-blowing. And Doug Pederson was asked earlier this week, is he going to go, try to help the defense out at all? He said, no, that's their side of the ball. They handle that. For one, I know Doug Pederson has helped out on defense as a head coach before. So that is another, he just doesn't want to, doesn't feel like he should, doesn't care to, whatever it may be. And B, like we have an example from the head coach who just beat you last week with his backup quarterback in the second half, Matt LaFleur. He's using a defensive coach to help him with his offense. Robert Saleh is consulting with the Packers right now to help out their offense. He's a defensive coach. Guess what? Defensive coaches could use the eye of an offensive coach to help them out. Offensive coaches can use the eye of a defensive coach to help them out. It's hilarious at this point. It really is. And then, Nielsen does need some help. Why aren't your best players on the field on key situations? Why isn't Eric Armstead a 3-tech? Why do your players not know where to be in the secondary most of the time? I mean, his man coverage defense is so easily manipulated by opponents that the Green Bay Packers didn't even have the play that beat the Jaguars in their plan. But they said, you know what? This is going to work. This could work. We're going to run it. And they ran it and left the Jaguars in the dust. The rest is history, right? And I do want to be clear here. I made it, in my opinion, very clear over the last couple of months, even if the Jaguars did go on this run that everyone was hoping they would, even if they were able to go 2-0 in London or beat the Packers, this regime is fundamentally flawed in so many ways, A, and B, the results speak for themselves. You cannot have this type of start in year 3. You just can't have it. I think that Doug Pederson was a good hire for the Jaguars at the time. I think he was someone that brought stability. I think that a lot of factors have kind of led him to not be as engaged as he should be. I think the Trent Baalke factor has helped in that regard or hurt in that regard. I think he got them to respectability over the first couple years, and now it's time to bring in a new regime that has a unified vision that can get them over the top. They reached a point where they were a respectable organization, respectable football team. Offensively, certainly. And now they need some folks to come in here and elevate what they have, because they do have a core group of talent that's really solid. They have their franchise quarterback who's playing very good football. They have a lot of cap space. They have a lot of draft capital. They have an owner that's willing to spend. So now it's time to go find the right guys to take this thing over the top. Really appreciate y'all tuning in. If you enjoy the content, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. You can also check out genjag.com/shop, pick up some new Duval gear, become a channel member here on YouTube. Y'all have a good one.